I'm Cape Jewel, and this is Comic Smack, the weekly, daily, all the time, anytime comic book show where I give you your fix of everything you need to know from the world of comic books and superheroes. And on today's show, we're going to be taking a closer look at Captain America Steve Rogers issue number 1. After reclaiming his youth at the end of Standoff, Steve is ready to get back in the field as an all-new, all-different Star-Spangled Man for an all-new, all-different age. What happens next? Well, let's hop on in and find out. So, as the comic opens up, we're treated to a flashback of Steve Rogers' time as a young boy and his total shitheel of a father. It seemed that his mother was attempting to get him interested in local politics when Dad decided to beat the crap out of her in the street. She is, however, saved by the intervention of a very mysterious woman in a very bright red boa. This woman takes a great interest in both Steve and his mother, and we'll get back to that in just a second. Now, in the present, Captain America, back with a brand new costume, is taking care of a train hijacking by a group of Hydra agents. There's a guy with a suicide bomb vest on the train, and the plot is to drive this one right to Grand Central Station. Now, if you're like me, you're probably thinking this brand of a homegrown ISIS-esque terrorism isn't really Hydra's regular MO. Well, it seems the group has undergone a bit of a rebirth ever since the Red Skull left Pleasant Hill. He has taken what was once a Nazi death cult, was once a major supervillain organization, and has instead decided to turn it into, get this, a grassroots political movement. Yeah, the Red Skull is giving what is essentially beer hall meetings wherein he is reaching out to some of the most disaffected, racist, and uneducated in all of America. At first, his message was only reaching neo-Nazi skinheads and other types, but now his message is ballooning even bigger to your average Joe Schmo. Yes, the Red Skull is quite literally telling Americans that through the use of his Nazi ideology, he will make America great again. Well, I mean, you know, at least he has no hair to complain about and his hands don't appear to be small. To assist Captain America in taking down this much more insidious, much more homegrown version of Hydra, he is joined by two returning old-school Cap characters, Jack Flag, who for a while was actually part of the Guardians of the Galaxy, and Free Spirit. By coordinating their efforts, the three patriotic-themed heroes are able to stop the bombing threat. Unfortunately, they're unable to save the suicide bomber himself, who ends up blowing. A sad fate, because as we found out throughout this issue, he wasn't always a bad guy. He actually had something of a sympathetic backstory, and at the end of the day, all he really wanted was to belong to something, even if that something was something horrible. Steve feels bad about how this turns out and wishes he could have done something. Furthermore, he also feels strange in this new, younger body ever since the godchild Kobik returned him to his old form. Another interesting little wrinkle in this comic, and I do use the term wrinkle ironically, you'll notice that Sharon Carter's being drawn a lot older than she normally has been. Then again, I mean, you gotta figure she was invented in the 60s, and she doesn't have any super soldier serum or anything to keep her young like all the other characters do. Sharon actually ends up kind of butting heads with Maria Hill, who's dealing with the fallout of Standoff in her own way. Basically, there's a bunch of secret tribunals going on right now to decide what to do with her, and she's beginning to fear that maybe Sharon is jockeying for her position as the new head of S.H.I.E.L.D. Honestly, that would be a pretty good twist. This ladies' equivalent of a dick measuring contest is going to have to be put on hold, however, because Cap and S.H.I.E.L.D. already have their next mission, and that is apprehend Baron Zemo. The Baron, of course, is still on the run following the events of Standoff, and he still has Dr. Selvig held hostage. He wants to recruit a brand new version of the Masters of Evil. Of course, his pickings are very slim at this time. Honestly, you know, it's scenes like this that make me absolutely love Nick Spencer. Even when he's telling a really serious story, he's such a funny guy, he can't help but add a little bit of comedy relief in there, and all these lame villains, including the new Plant Man who was invented in Spencer's own Ant-Man book, show up to Zemo's casting call. The good guys clean house and have absolutely no trouble mopping the floor with the D-list villains. Now, back in the past, we see that woman who saved Steve and her mother actually had an ulterior motive, and that is she wanted Steve's mom to join a little, you know, activism group that she's a part of. A bunch of like-minded citizens trying to assist their community. A little group called Hydra. For those of you who don't know your history, this is mirroring actual Nazi clubs that did exist in North America prior to World War II. Zemo, coward that he his, attempts to escape in his flying machine, but it's actually Jack Flag who takes his moment to be a big shot hero and punches him in the face. You would think Cap would be totally stoked by this, only he's not. He throws Jack Flag out of the moving aircraft. And as the comic winds down, he says in his internal monologue how he always wished to live up to the example set by that woman from all those years ago before finally saying, "Hail Hydra." So even before I finally got a chance to review this issue, Captain America Steve Rogers #1 was absolutely blowing up social media and had everyone, comic fans and non-comic fans alike, going positively nuts. And after finally having a chance to read the comic and talking about it even more in depth over on the newest episode of The Pull, go check that out if you haven't, I'll link that in the description, I can easily say beyond a shadow of a doubt that this controversy is completely and utterly overblown. First and foremost, it's a stinger at the end of the first issue of what's going to be an ongoing series. Don't be so quick to judge. Comics always have crazy cliffhangers like this that turn out not to be true. And even if this is some sort of grand, crazy new direction for Captain America where he actually has been a Hydra sleeper agent for 75 years, then I'm sure it'll end up in the same camp as Grayson or Superior Spider-Man. By which I mean people got all offended and up in arms over it until they actually read the story and went, you know what, this was actually pretty good. Or maybe they didn't and that was fine too. Speaking about the comic itself, I like what Nick Spencer does with this story. He tries to, really weave this narrative about fanaticism and zealotry and how easy it is to fall into that. Evil people like the Red Skull and even the woman from the flashback, they don't come to you as boogeymen in the night. They come to you as friends and allies. They tell you everything is going to be okay, so you buy their bullshit. I like how they're kind of building up a Captain America family with Jack Flag and Free Spirit and even Rick Jones. This book also works as a really organic feeling sequel to the events of Standoff. In fact, quite a few of the hanging plot threads from that are wrapped up here in this issue. Did I have some issues with the comic as well? Of course. I gotta say I'm not exactly won over by this art style. Faces looked a little distended and creepy when I didn't think they should, but you know what, that's a small complaint in the grand scheme of things. Overall, I would give this issue a 7.5 out of 10, and I am interested to come back and see where it goes. And if by chance you are one of those people who are still really offended by this twist and say you're never going to read Captain America again, never going to read Marvel again, I can say that, I disagree with you, but you're entitled to your opinion. Might I recommend, though, that a better course of action could be reading the other equally viable Captain America book that's out right now in Captain America Sam Wilson? Or, going back and revisiting any of the other great stories that's been told with the character over 75 years. I'm a big fan of the Brubaker stuff myself. That was very much like a spy film. Hey everyone, thanks so much for watching my newest video. I hope you enjoyed it, and while you're here, why not check out another video I have on offer? Or maybe if you're feeling in a supportive mood, you want to like or subscribe. And if you want to support the creation of more videos just like this one, then please by all means check out the Cape Joel Patreon. A little bit goes a very long way, and I will see you all next time.